Hola, mi gente, and welcome to another episode of Growing Up Spanglish. I'm your host, Roxy, or Rosaline, as we've established from the beginning of this season. Get more comfortable with that. We're coming to you live from Collab Studios. Shout out to the sponsor here in the heart of Miami in this lovely space that we get to film and record out of. I gotta say hello to a little empanada over there.
Hello. What's up, y'all? It's KJ here. Locked in. Let's get it.
Yes. So get right into it. Introduce our guest of the week.
Hey, what's up, y'all? What's up, internet and the interworld, interwebs?
Interwebs.
You know, the whole nine. My name is Abe Acay, which is short for Abraham. I'm a 36-year-old multi-hyphenate artiste. My day job is teaching artists. I teach high school drama. And I also still am an active actor myself, thespian per se, you know. In case y'all didn't know, thespian is just a more fancy way to say actor. But actually, that's where we met.
5927.
Oh, yes, represent. Rolling with the clique. I don't know if you still know the rap, but
No.
yeah, those are good times, great times.
Let the people know your nationality, where you from, where you
Right. So, I mean, this is the Spanglish podcast, right? So, naturally, I'm Afro-Cuban, born in Cuba, and my family emigrated or immigrated? I always get confused with those two. But we came over here in 1991. My dad was a political prisoner who was escaping the Castro regime, and we were lucky enough to settle here in Hialeah, in the beautiful city of progress. I grew up in Hialeah pretty much my entire childhood, but I went to magnet art schools, which is where I was introduced to the wonderful city of Carroll.
Right.
Which we now know
Hey,
as...
I like that. Nobody's ever done that before. I like that.
Now we know it as Miami Gardens.
Right.
But back in the day, it was Carroll City. I transferred from Ben Shepherd, which is in Hialeah.
Okay.
And I went from there to Rainbow Park Elementary, which is actually in Opelika. Apologies. So Opelika first, which is actually is like right on the border.
Like adjacent.
If you 5 minutes, you're in Carroll City. But yeah, it's on the opposite side, the southern side of the Palmetto, which is pretty much the divider, right?
Right.
So yeah, man, I grew up, you know, mixed with a lot of different cultures and just being around a lot of different types of kids. I was blessed. You know, not a lot of kids come from that. And it's something now that I'm noticing, you know, where I teach, which is predominantly one race, they don't really get to interact so much. And it's a culture shock when they get out of that, you know, out of that little bubble.
Right.
And, you know, I'm just very grateful to be able to grow up in that.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack because there's so much, I mean, like your dad being a political prisoner and you having been born in Cuba, there's just so much things that we're going to get into. And I'm so excited. Yes, we've known each other for... what I love is when I'm able to have these conversations with people that I've known for a long time, but we get to talk about things that we probably have never really talked about or discussed.
Right.
And we've known each other, literally we were saying we've known each other since we were like 11 years old.
Forever.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Basically grew up together and there's just so many things. I'd like to get into your dad being a political prisoner and like what your knowledge was about that, if that was something that was like talked about, not talked about. Let's get into that.
Oh, yeah. So my dad definitely was like very much rebel in not just his mind state, but like his actions, you know, like he was about it. So he definitely would talk a lot about like how lucky we had it. And you know how Hispanic parents are, especially on days where if you're just lounging around and watching TV and chilling, they'll let you know, boy, you got it good. Look at you, you know what I'm saying? Be grateful.
Right.
You know, and I would hear stories all the time of my brother and sister telling me how sometimes we didn't have food. There was no electricity for 2 or 3 days and you just had to deal with it, you know? So the political side too, like it was always very appreciative of being here and having the freedom to, one, even criticize the political situation. In Cuba, you can't even say, I don't like so-and-so, because your neighbors will snitch you out immediately, and next thing you know, you're in jail for however long they want you to be. So, yeah, it was always something that he, was very prideful about, being able to get out. In the same token, he would go back a lot, and I always felt like deep down he probably had a little bit of like guilt of being like one of the few that like got out, and like we were from like the hood. So like, I mean, Cuba in its entirety is pretty much a hood, but we were from the city, and he grew up with very little. So he was just very appreciative, and all the time would just be like, I love America, no, I love you, Miami.
Yeah.
Like, he was, man, like living the American dream. So I hold on to that. And even, when we're in the middle of like political turmoil and where we're at right now, as crazy as it is, it's always, man, things could be worse.
Right.
So let's still be appreciative for what we got.
Like, at least you're able to say how you feel, and you're able to protest, and you're able to do these things without having to worry about the repercussions.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And when you were, I guess, as a child, did you always identify, was the term always used for Afro-Cuban, or was that something that you learned or heard when you were here?
Man, so my family, it's funny because Americans have a huge misconception and they don't really understand the difference between nationality and race. My family had a really good understanding of it. And like, my dad was always very proud of being black and always told us to be proud of being black. I still have members of my family that would not associate with being African American and did not like being associated with being African American, and would very much talk in a condescending manner, you know what I'm saying, about specifically African Americans.
So they considered themselves separate.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. And it's funny because I see that parallel in a lot of the different parts of the diaspora. You say diaspora? Diaspora? Man, I just exposed myself. Can we edit that part out?
Hey, that's part of growing up Spanglish.
Exactly. But thank you. That was a learning moment for me. No, but you see it a lot too. And like Africans, at least in my experience from what I've read and seen with my friends, they don't really like being associated with African Americans.
Right.
And they very much are snooty about that.
Right.
So there is, unfortunately, that kind of a divide.
Right.
But no, my parents, man, they were very proud of being black. They're also very proud of being Cuban. And I think being able to differentiate nationality and your culture from your race is important because it's part of identifying who you are.
Yeah. Do you, I don't know if you would know or ever experience, have you been back to Cuba?
Not for a long time. Not since 99.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So in your experience or knowledge, so you're saying that there is an acknowledgement of race with Cubans once they get here. Is that experience in Cuba as well? Or is it just something that, like, that transition once they cross
I think
the
it's more
waters?
of a transition. I think there's definitely still racism in Cuba, for sure. It's just not as systemic as it is here. I think it's more...
Because you're all on the same playing field?
Very similar, especially, when we're talking about status and economics. So I can't really speak for what's going on right now because I haven't been there in so long. But, my nephews and from what everybody said, there isn't that sense, that weight, that tension of racism, of prejudice as there is here.
Got it.
And, it is more like, at least I feel now, a lot more concentrated in areas versus everywhere.
Yeah.
But, with the political atmosphere, man, things have been a little sketchy.
Yeah, I always wonder because I feel like, not that racism doesn't exist, we know it exists, but in the context of how it exists in the US, I always wonder if any hint of that in other countries exists because of American influence. So it's something that only comes to, it's like taking a bite from the tree of knowledge.
Yeah.
They are not aware of this, or it's not part of the culture until they're consuming American, media. And then they're like, oh, wait, they treat black people differently there. should I treat Black people differently here?
Yeah.
And this is why like I always like to ask people that come from anywhere and are Afro whatever or indigenous to wherever, because I'm curious, is that an experience that existed or was created because of American influence?
Yeah. I think, deep down that we are all a little prejudiced because it's a survival instinct. We judge based on appearance.
True.
Because that's how you figure out, is this a safe person or a dangerous person, just instinctively, that's part of like our animalistic instincts. And yeah, society does not help with what, they blast in the media and just the years of propaganda that you're exposed to. But I definitely am on the side that we're all naturally colorblind per se, which I hate that term. But I do think that deep down, like kids, if you look at kids, they don't, they're not going to not play with the kid because of what they look like. They might be curious and ask, why is his skin different than mine? Or, why is his hair different than mine? But normally they'll still just be like, so do you want to play with this car or that car?
And kids will they are going to literally call you whatever color they think you are in the crayon box.
For sure.
The other day I was wearing an anklet and it said morena. And my niece was like, Titi, what is that? What are you wearing? What does it say? And I said, oh, it's morena. What does that mean? And I was like, tan, brown. She's like, you're not brown, you're peach.
You're peach. They're very literal, like, oh, my bad. Well, you're right. I am closer to peach.
I was like, but a little tan, just a little. And she's like, no.
Yeah, I work with little kids a lot. My after school job is directing an elementary musical.
Okay.
Right now we're doing Annie.
Aww.
And it's the cutest thing.
Yeah.
And in the 3 years I've done it, it's majority, like 99.9% white kids. Deep down, I've always expected some type of little, not malicious, but like just innocent, like funny something about my race, because they're not around a lot of Black people,
Right.
And I've never gotten that. And I've always been like, man, these are really great kids. And it shows me also that kids are naturally not like that.
Right.
They're only going to react based on what they see.
Right.
What they're exposed to and what they learn from their parents, So yeah, that's been my experience with the majority of these kids, is they are very much colorblind.
Yeah.
Like they don't really see color. It doesn't affect them. It's not until they learn from their parents or from movies
You witness
or from,
it, right?
and they see it and they're like, oh, so that's the way I'm supposed to be.
Right.
Kids copy everything. They're little freaking parrots.
Yeah. Speaking about kids, so let's talk about, do you remember when you came here? Do you have a vivid memory of that?
No, I was little. I was 3. So what I remember, I feel like it's more like bits and pieces from what my brother and sister have told me and my parents. But I do have like early memories of being in Miami in my tia Marta's house. She had a little apartment in Little Havana. And I remember playing burn ball. I don't know. Did you ever play burn ball as a kid? It's like the game where you get like the blue ball or like a tennis ball and you throw it against the wall.
Like a racquetball?
Yes.
Yes.
You throw it against the wall and then you have to run and touch the wall before someone hits you with it. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Yes, burn ball. That was my game. Anyways, I remember playing that with my brother and sister and making a racket because you're throwing this ball super loud. And it's against the giant wall.
It echoes.
And people would always come out and complain, you know what I'm saying? And then we'd be like, all right, we'll stop. And then we just keep it. So that's one of my earliest memories as a kid in Miami. But I don't really have memories of the journey or nothing, no.
Got it. Okay. So you start going to school. Did you start going to school in Rainbow Park?
No, my very first school that I went to that wasn't like preschool was
Lincoln Marti.
No. North Twin Lakes Elementary, which is also in Hialeah, excuse me. And ironically, my favorite teacher from Rainbow Park also taught there, and then later taught in Ben Shepherd and Rainbow Park. Mrs. Keller, shout out to Mrs. Keller, one of my favorite teachers. She goes by Miss Gwaltney now because she's married. So I went to North Twin Lakes. Then for second grade, first and second, I went to Ben Shepherd, which is across from Jose Marti.
Okay.
It's like the most highly of places in the world.
Yeah.
And where did I go after that? Then Rainbow Park.
Okay, gotcha.
So after Ben Shepherd, I remember I got accepted into the gifted program and I was stoked. And then I got approached, I forgot by who, about a magnet program for dancing and singing because I was already doing that. And I started, doing more stuff, variety shows. I was on Sábado Gigante
How did you get into that? This is before you go to Rainbow Park. You're already doing this stuff.
My mom was a G, bro. She was like the original dance mom. You know what I'm saying? And bro, she took me to every audition, every, casting call, wherever she thought that I could get an opportunity, she would take me.
So it was for opportunity's sake, or like it was like something that
so the
she
plug
saw?
was, so she put me with this lady called Onyx Morera. Shout out to Onyx. She's still out there. And she had this group called Talento Artístico Juvenil, which was essentially like a talent group of kid performers, singers, dancers, imitators, all types of stuff. And we started just performing at little malls. At Westland Mall, we would perform.
Yes.
Jose Marti Teatro in Little Havana, just all over the place. Calle Ocho. And then somehow she got a plug for Telemundo and for Univision and got me on Sábado Gigante.
That's crazy.
And then from that one, I got Cristina, El Show de Cristina, and was able to meet one of my idols, Julio Zavala, which is one of the most legendary entertainers that imitates other entertainers. I forget the actual name of that profession or whatever. But he was like the guest star, and then there were like 3 other imitators that were children, and they performed also. So
okay,
it was awesome. So yeah, from that, I auditioned for Rainbow Park. I got in, and I actually was dancing. I was doing dance all the way up until high school.
so you had no issues with being the only boy in the dance program?
Oh, I had issues. What? In freaking Opalaka, man. They would let me hear it. And like it really prepared me for the future, honestly, because it gave me real thick skin and nothing really bothered me. They would pick on me because I was the only boy, and I was also the only black boy in dance because it was nothing but black girls. But I got a bunch of flack, and I remember like my first fight was because of it. And I had just did a performance, I think it was 4th grade. And I was in like some super tight pants, and a super tight shirt. And this one kid, man, who was a bully, was like talking mad trash. And then he said something about my mom, and I lost it. And I punched him right in the nose. And he was in shock because he was a bully and no one ever fought back.
Right.
And then he like grabbed me by the collar, and then the teacher came and separated it. And it was my first time ever getting in trouble. I think I got like a detention after school or something.
Right.
But I remember my dad being so proud. He was like, that's my boy. Old
it's
school.
funny because I feel like I wonder if this is like a Caribbean parents kind of thing, but I just was talking about it with my sister today about like, I think one of my nephews got into some little scuffle with one of the neighbors, and she was like, I don't like that he came back to me and was like crying, Mom, I got hit. And she was like, well, you hit him back, And,
Right.
I was like, dang, you're going to have to tell them what Papa used to tell us, which is you get into a fight in school, you better hit them back, because when you get home, I'm going to hit you harder if you didn't hit them back.
And it's terrible. I do not condone hitting your kids.
It doesn't sound okay.
We come from a different generation, y'all.
Right.
I promise you.
It really what it is that a lot of us are being guapito at home. So if you're in school and letting somebody bully you, I know you're not playing that game.
Yep. Mama ain't raised no punk.
Right.
So, definitely, they tried me a little bit, but then once they saw me fight back and punch the big bully, no one ever tried me again. It wasn't until I think
it's coming to your show.
It wasn't right. No, for real. It wasn't until like 6th grade. Everybody was like, yo, show me how to do the moonwalk. You know what I'm saying? And then 6th grade.
Oh my God, that you did used to do a little Michael.
Yeah, bro. That was my ish, man. Rest in peace to MJ, man, the great GOAT. But yeah, I was definitely, I think I was like, 2 years old when I first started imitating Michael Jackson. And I was just obsessed. And I would record, his performances and just practice for hours.
Yeah.
And that's how my mom knew this is what he wants to do. So I didn't start taking acting classes until I was casted in a musical. So I was like 8. And I was the only child actor in the musical. It was written by a Cuban guy and performed it at the Fillmore, aka the Jackie Gleason.
That's crazy.
And then that's when I was like, all right, I want to do acting. I really got into acting after that. So I couldn't do both in the magnet program, unfortunately. So for middle school, I wanted to try acting, but then my parents got into that accident, and it kind of like really numbed me to the arts for a little bit. Like I just felt kind of like empty and didn't want to do anything. What really brought me back, one of the things that brought me back was Dragon Ball Z, which sounds hilarious. But no, for real, because like I started drawing Dragon Ball Z like every other 6th grader in the 90s. And it like just made me feel kind of alive again, The show also was just very inspiring in hindsight. At the time, I wasn't like, I'm like, gonna definitely journal about how deep Goku is, That's not how it happened. But in hindsight, y'all, you know, the story of Dragon Ball Z, in case you don't know, it has to do with someone who was an alien having to cope and deal with not really knowing his family and finding out that he was an alien. And it's very similar in parallel to Superman, you know what I'm saying? Where he finds out that he was meant to actually conquer this planet and having to kind of rediscover himself and his purpose and becoming a savior and being like Earth's hero instead of, you know, the villain. But for me,
I've never watched that.
Nah.
So I'm glad you explained that to me.
It's a lot weirder than that. Like I just made it sound a lot deeper.
That was very simplified. So I'm very glad that now I know.
But yeah, his race conquers other planets, and then he forgets who he is because he's like bumps his head as a baby and is raised by like a karate guru instead. And then when he's an adult, his race comes to like basically like check on him and realize that he's like this softie that just like wants to like eat and fight for fun. But there's a bunch of other lessons, but it really Dragon Ball Z really kind of like just brought me back to life, I feel like. And then going to church, I was actually a part of the Mormon church because my aunt was Mormon, and that was a interesting part of my life. But it just gave me like a sense of like family, and you know, losing both of your parents is rough in general, but having to go through that when you're 11 and going through puberty and figuring out who you are and what you want to do, just it's such a burden. You know, it's mad heavy. So it took me a little bit to kind of get back into the groove of just being like a normal person. Yeah. But I did a good job of acting like I was cool, but inside I really wasn't.
I'm curious, what was that like being Spanish but at a Mormon church? Like, because that Mormon to me is like very American.
It is,
right?
So in Orlando, which is where I was living at the time, because my tia Mata lived in Orlando. There's a huge Mormon community, and one of the chapters was a completely Hispanic chapter. Oh. Yeah, so the whole church was Spanish. Okay. And the service was in Spanish. The Book of Mormon is in Spanish. It's a whole Spanish church.
Have you ever seen that musical?
Oh, of course.
Really?
It's a classic.
You've seen it?
Yeah, I haven't seen it live. I've seen the bootleg.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for the copyrights. But
it probably gets performed in a lot of thespian competitions.
Well, no, in competitions, but they don't have the rights yet for high schools yet.
Oh, okay. And we're talking about the Book of Mormon. There's a musical.
The musical, which is a classic. But yeah, it really, that also helped kind of give me that sense of family that I was missing. I joined the Boy Scouts, which is now called the Scouters of America or something. That's weird. I don't know what's going on. But Boy Scouts, basketball, and just I tried to do as much things where I was like meeting other kids and, you know, collaborating. And yeah, it helped bring me back because, man, that was a rough part of my life for sure.
So even though I've known you forever, I don't think that I've ever actually spoken to you about the loss of your parents and gotten into all of that. So your parents passed in a car accident when you were 11. So this is elementary, or you were already in middle school?
So this was 6th grade, and it was like, it happened September 30th, which was like probably the worst and the most ironic part. It happened on my sister's birthday, and that's how we found out that something was wrong, because she didn't get a phone call from them. And they were in Cuba on vacation.
Oh, so they weren't here.
No, it happened in Cuba.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when it happened, I had maybe 2 weeks to get my stuff together, say goodbye, and then move to Orlando because we couldn't afford the house. And my aunt was in Orlando, and it was a very quick transition.
Is this the same aunt that you guys lived with when you first got here?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Same aunt. My tia Marta. Yes, which was my mom's oldest sister.
Gotcha.
Older sister or younger sister? I think older sister, pretty sure.
So if they passed away over there, were they able to be buried here?
No, they were buried over there, unfortunately. Yeah, it was ridiculously expensive. Oh. Like, we could not afford it. So that was when I went over there. That was the last time I went, was right after the accident. We all went over there, you know, and were able to, you know, say our condolences and try and make some type of peace. But it always felt like it, you know, I really didn't fully get to say goodbye. Right. And I was lucky to go through some therapy in my 20s, mid-20s, and got to get a lot of that like off of my chest, you know, because when it happens like that, where like you don't see it, you know, and like they're just gone.
Yeah, you don't see them. You don't. See, it's not. You're not. It's not like where you're living.
Right. It just feels fake. It doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
So a big part of it for me in the beginning was just being kind of like in denial and not understanding that this was really happening.
Yeah.
So, you know, you cope as a kid, and my spirituality was definitely like shook. But again, the Mormon religion does a really good job of giving you a lot of answers as far as like what happens in the afterlife and how are you rewarded if you're a good person. So that was very appealing to me, and just knowing that they were at peace and were like in paradise for sure it made me feel better.
What an interesting experience to have, unbeknownst to you. And I don't know if you ever had a conversation with your aunt about whether she was cognizant of that, bringing that experience to you, that you were able to get those answers. Because I imagine, as an 11-year-old, there's so much uncertainty. The way that it happened was out of nowhere. But then to go into this religion where you got to have these like answers of, maybe gave you a little piece of, oh, okay, they're okay. At least they're in paradise, or whatever it was that you were taught in the Mormon church. So I wonder if your aunt was aware of how much that was going to help you or impact you.
I think she did. She was very in tune, very spiritual, and she knew that was going to leave like a big, you know, hole in my spirituality and my heart and just everything. Obviously, at that age, your parents are everything. You know, you depend on them for everything. And I was very close with my parents. So luckily, I was close with my aunt too. So she, you know, really helped me get through a lot of my, you know, trauma. And I'm very lucky and thankful to have her, because, you know, some people aren't lucky to have any family.
No, not at all.
And go into orphanages, and I never had to go through that.
And God. Family that like cares
right
about you, because that's the other part too. Yeah. But you at some point come back.
So I came
with
back.
Your brother, I
so
think.
6th grade, I auditioned for drama. I get in, but I decide to still do dance instead. I leave, go to Orlando for 2 years, and then 8th grade, I moved back to Miami with my brother, who becomes a cop. Well, at first he was actually a corrections officer, and then I think sophomore year of high school, he became a cop. And
so you're living with your brother, and he's like a bachelor?
Yeah, he was 21, 22 years old.
And you're in high school?
With a 13, 14-year-old.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he's 8 years older than me. So it was insane. And it was very much a baby raising a baby.
Yeah.
But my brother did great. He did, you know, the best that he could.
Right.
And I think that with all things considered, he used what he had and the tools that my dad and my mom gave him and did his thing, man. I didn't turn out too bad, you know? I came out all right.
Yeah. Does your brother have kids now?
He does, man. He's got 2 little kids. I got 2 nephews, 2 boys. The older one, I think, is 6 now. The younger one is 5. And they're awesome, man. He's a great dad. And he tells me all the time, he's, man, I'm sorry, bro. I took it so hard on you. I'm as bad as these kids are. Like I can't even hit them half the time because they're so adorable. And you were like a big kid. He was like, so I was whooping your ass. I know. I remember. I still got the scars. Nah, it wasn't that bad, but I'll never forget this one time, man. I got in trouble. I think he caught me skipping, and he was like, "Oh, you think you're a man now?" And I said something like I talked back to him, and then as soon as I said it, I was like, "Why did I say that? That was stupid." And he was like, all right, bet. We hopped in the car, and we ended up going to like his girlfriend's house at the time, and there was just gloves like in the backyard. And he was like, put the gloves on. And I was like,
oh no. Shit.
Man, I was trying to do my best Mayweather impersonation, you know what I'm saying? So I was dancing around that ring, trying not to get hit and tire him out. You know, I was trying to rope-a-dope him. And then I just remember like him hitting me once, and just instinctively, because I got hit, I like reflexed and hit him and caught him. Man,
and that got him even more bad.
He got pissed and hit me with that combo. And I just remember just waking up and him being like, you all right? But no, those little things, man, like honestly, I feel like sometimes they're necessary. You know, sometimes you as a man need a wake-up call from another man. And that's why my aunt sent me down there. You know, was like,
there was only so much she could do. You didn't have an uncle up there, I guess?
No.
Oh, okay.
She was divorced for a long time. So
did you have like cousins?
I did have cousins.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, my older cousin Lying, he was a great influence, but he was working a lot, you know, and he had his own kids. He had 3 kids. So I did need that male influence. And I did learn a lot from my brother. He taught me, you know, like how to change a tire and, you know, man stuff. So shout out to my brother, Hialeah PD, detective now. He's doing great.
Oh, he's a detective? Cool.
Wife, 2 kids, doing his thing. And then actually, junior year, I moved in with my sister.
Oh,
and my sister was married also with, at the time, 2 kids. And yeah, high school was all about acting, man. That's when I really got serious about acting.
Yeah.
You know? And it's been a love affair ever since. I'm still doing it.
Yeah. Were you annoyed or like upset that you had to keep moving?
Not really, because I loved coming back home, first of all. And then when I had to move in with my sister, it was like I loved my sister, and she was like the maternal side. Now I got the paternal side. Now I need a little bit more nurturing.
Yeah.
Because my brother was not very nurturing. That wasn't his forte.
Right.
And, you know, I did need that too. She also was a lot more understanding about my, you know, trauma. And, you know, there's some days were a lot harder than others. And I was able to communicate and talk to her, I feel like, a little bit better than I was with my brother.
Yeah. I think that, like, looking back, of course, obviously, one thing is we never know what anybody's going through. But I think looking back, I don't think that I ever picked up anything sad about you. I feel like in high school, you were always in a good mood. You always had a smile on. You're always like joking around. You were always like likable. You knew everybody. So like charming, if you will. Like, I don't think back picking up and being like, oh yeah. Yeah, I don't think that I ever saw that side of you.
Man, I tell you what, I didn't have a whole lot of like depressed episodes in high school. But there were times definitely where I felt more aloof and not wanting to do that, but still did it to keep up the persona and so that people wouldn't be like, what's up with you? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like actors, we do that a lot too. Like, we know how to act happy and like keep that up.
Yeah.
But I think probably it wasn't really until like junior year that like I started getting into like little funks where I would, you know, I started drinking. And that's, I think, what really started me down the wrong path. Because, you know, you get hyper emotional when you're drunk, especially as a kid. You don't know what you're doing. You have no tolerance. And I had to face some demons. And senior year, thank God, I stopped drinking. But I was partying like crazy junior year. I don't know what got into me junior year. But, yeah, I think I did a good job of hiding it. But every once in a while, I would have some moments here and there.
Yeah. So you get really into the acting. And I guess that, well, not I guess you think that's going to be your career. Like, we're literally in a conservatory. We don't have a choice but to think that this is going to be like our forever.
Right.
Yeah. So you went to school in Philly.
Mm-hmm. So I went to the University of the Arts in Philly, and college was awesome. I loved Philadelphia. I've always been like a history buff. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, school was like an opportunity to just fully just be myself and almost like reinvent myself.
Did you go knowing anybody or you went solo dolo?
Ironically, I knew 2 people.
Okay.
One person, this girl Monica, not our Monica.
We know several Monicas.
I know, not those Monicas.
Okay.
Not a fly guy, and I'm inside joke. But this Monica actually I met through the school. They had a little picnic for South Florida students that were going up. And she was one of the kids there. And I just reconnected with her recently, ironically enough, because she is also a drama teacher.
Oh.
And we've been doing Cappies together. And I had no idea. And then the picture, I guess, popped up somewhere. And then it just clicked. And we both were like, oh my God. You know? So, and then the other person was from Facebook. Oh. And this was literally like the first year of Facebook. Yo, this making me feel so old, bruh. But Facebook was like brand spanking new. And I made it. And I remember there was a very small group of freshmen. And his background was the Mavericks, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Heat had just beat the Dallas Mavericks for the championship.
Okay.
Right? So I instantly slid in the DMs and was talking mad trash to him. Yo, I was talking so much trash. And he was like, yeah, whatever, you know what I'm saying? We'll see each other in the hallways or whatever. And I think it was during orientation. I promise you, he was wearing a Mavericks jersey and I was wearing a Heat jersey. and we saw each other. He was like, what's up? And we ended up actually becoming like best of friends. But that was the only other person I knew, man. So it was
Were
like,
you prepared for that fucking cold?
the cold was crazy. So my audition was in April. I think it was like April 19th. And I'm thinking April is hot. April here is 89 degrees.
Right.
I did not do my research. At the time, we did not have GPS popping like that.
Right.
Even though I did have a sidekick. Do they still have sidekicks?
They don't.
Can they bring those back?
Sidekick.
Yo, sidekick was fire.
It's the best.
The little flick.
Right. And
Y'all
you
don't
could
know
put the
nothing about
covers. Remember when they had the interchangeable covers?
Yes, for real.
Okay,
Yo,
so.
Anyway. Sidebar. Sidekick, rewind. Where were we? Come on.
You didn't know it was going to be freaking cold in April.
It was, when I tell you, it was 19 degrees.
Oh, hell no.
This is how I remember the date, because it was 19 degrees on April the 19th. And I walk out, it hits me like a ton of bricks, and I instinctively ran inside, and then I had to ask around. I was like, where's the closest place where I can buy a jacket? Because I'm not going to survive walking to the school.
Right.
And thank God, the Greyhound station in Philly is right next to the mall. So I ran across. In the 15 seconds it took me to run from the Greyhound to the mall,
you died.
I almost got hypothermia. I'm telling you. I was like
Holy,
shivering.
what were you wearing?
Like a t-shirt and a windbreaker. I thought a windbreaker was enough. I was wrong.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the cold was definitely like the biggest shock. Philly also has an Asian community, which was a brand new experience for me. There's no Asian community in Miami.
There isn't really.
There is now.
There is, but like
it's very
not
small.
Yeah.
And like I just didn't have a lot of Asian friends. So I love going to Chinatown and like trying different foods and going to random Chinese stores. And I'm part Asian technically.
Yeah.
Which is weird because we don't really know how much or what type of Asian.
Did you know how
Hispanics are? Nah, we don't believe in that.
23andMe?
I don't trust that. I don't want people knowing all of that information. What if they try to clone me or something?
Oh, not Tyrone. Oh my God.
You see? Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. If y'all haven't seen that movie,
It's really
watch
good.
it. It's a documentary. They cloned Tyrone. I'm telling you, man.
Dead.
But no, let's get back on track. What does this have to do with Spanglish?
That you think you're Asian.
Oh, right. So yes, exactly. So I know we're definitely Asian. So the little bit of
Somewhere down the
research that
line.
we've done, Acay, which is my last name, is
What is
the
that?
only two heritages that they come from are Turkey
Uh-huh.
and the Philippines.
Oh, okay. Philippines makes sense because, Spain and colonization.
Exactly.
Like in Puerto Rico, like my mom's last name, Vega, is Spaniard, but it's also connected to the Philippines. So that could be a thing. That could be a thing there. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think if anything, it is Filipino. And then also the Philippines are very closely related to Spanish culture because of the
Spain.
Spanish colony. So we'll see. I don't know. One day I plan on going over there and just looking it up.
Maybe when you have your own kids, you'll be more interested in doing it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I would probably then be like, all right, you know what? I'll let the government have my genetics.
So where are you at now? How did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
Man, so it was crazy. I was working as a leasing agent in 2018 for a year. And I was happy. I was making good money. I was like one of the top leasing agents at the company. And I was about to get into real estate as a realtor. And then out of the blue, guess who gives me a call?
Who?
Mrs. Andrea Kidd.
Okay.
All right. Which was our high school drama teacher. And, we were catching up for a little bit. And she was like, what are you doing for work right now? And I told her. And she was like, but do you like it? And I was like, I do like it. And then she was like, but do you love it? And I was like, no, not really.
Right.
Well, what's up? Stop being mysterious. Tell me what's going on here. And she was like, there's an opportunity to teach at a private school. It's good money. And it'll be you getting back to your roots. I know you
It was
probably,
specifically to be a theater teacher?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the teacher who I, was taking over from or for, also went to Crop, Lisa. I don't know if you remember Lisa Rosen.
Older than us.
Yes, she was like a year older than us.
Yeah. Okay.
And she was in that play with us.
Wasn't she in Greece?
The day they shot John Lennon, and she was in Greece.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And she ended up being the teacher there for 5 years, but then had 2 babies back to back and was like wanting to focus on family. So Miss Kid hit me up. I went in and did like an improv with the kids and got the job.
That's awesome.
And it's funny because I never thought of teaching. I never thought I was going to be a teacher.
Yeah.
But then once I started, I was like, maybe this is my calling. And there's something about teaching, man, that's like this untangible reward of, this feeling that you get when a kid is like, Mr. A, you're my favorite teacher. You know what I'm saying? Or like the little ones, when they see me in the hallway, you feel like a celebrity. Because they're like, Mr. A! And
you're the cool teacher.
They lose it. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I feel like I am the cool teacher. And it's great. It's a good feeling, man. And, when you feel like you actually have an impact on someone, and I know firsthand how impactful they can be. If it wasn't for my teacher, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Right. No, I think that's super important. I think that people don't understand. I think as we get older, right, because you were in that leasing agent situation and you were content, but you weren't fulfilled at least. And so once you get older, you do start to question those things and you do start to think, what am I doing? And who is this impacting? And like, what legacy am I leaving behind? So, that's in essence why I started even this podcast, was really like, I want to help other people tell their stories. Like, what am I doing for the grander picture here?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, we can have a bunch of jobs and do a bunch of shit, but like, what am I really helping humanity with?
Facts.
So that's awesome to see that you've been able to tap into that with the kiddos.
Yeah, man. And from there, it also refocused my craft because I realized, yes, this is what I want to do, but I still want to act. I still want to create because it's a different satisfaction you get from teaching versus creation, being a creative.
Have you kind of like drifted away from it a bit?
Yeah, man. I was writing a lot in college, writing screenplays, writing, television series and just novels, like everything. And then I kind of hit a wall. And when I moved back to Miami, I was just stuck in like that corporate mindset. Mm-hmm. And, I just didn't have time.
Just
I was too tired. Yeah, I was on survival mode. And then this job gave me more financial freedom, more time to pursue my passions. And I started auditioning again. I, joined a new agency. I started my own acting company, coaching privately by the side, abstractacting.com, by the way.
Shameless plug.
You know what I'm saying? You got to. Nah, but that, also took me to the next level and opened doors and is now giving me the opportunity to really like buckle down and pursue these dreams.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm blessed.
Yeah.
Curious, because you're saying that you started writing at some point and you're acting and you enjoy all of this now. How much of yourself are you giving to your art, your craft? And what I mean by that is you kind of see Issa Rae, right, really pour her Blackness into the art. When you think of Ryan Coogler, he does a really great job portraying Black life, right? Whether it's in Black Panther, the scene in Oakland specifically. You think about Spike Lee, even Martin Scorsese, right? For the sake of him doing only Italian-based kind of films because it's what he's familiar with. Do you think about that as you create your art?
100%, man. That's a great point. It's one of the things that is always at the forefront for me. Like, when I'm, coming up with a new idea, a new concept, I'm always like, what's going to be the legacy of this? Mm-hmm. If it gets picked up, how are people going to see it 100 years from now? In the digital age, everything, the internet's forever. Too, that's the thing I've been thinking about a lot. It's not like 2,000-3,000 years ago where it was like, that if you wrote a terrible play, it might get lost to time. Now, the cloud is forever.
Right.
So I think about that. And, I think about my legacy as my kids and my family. What are they going to think? Am I just making pulp fiction that is just to be consumed and be entertained? Or is there a deeper message? And all, for the most part, if you study film, if you study novels, the good ones, the best ones, even the ones that are filled with action, have real strong themes. They teach you something.
Mm-hmm.
They pull at your heartstrings. They're emotionally connected, and they engage you with more than just, you know, things blowing up.
Right.
Obviously that's fun, and we go to see that too. But what sticks and what makes you rewatch those movies is the emotional connection. So,
right. Which is why Die Hard is a Christmas classic,
100%, it's definitely a Christmas movie.
even though it's an action movie.
But it is, because the emotional attachment.
Right.
And yeah, man. So one of the scripts I'm working on right now has to do with, you know, the typical gangster family a la BMF or Power, right?
Do you remember that movie when we were younger that had Jimmy Smith, and it was Spanish. It was like Mi Familia, or like, you just reminded me of that. I'm gonna have to look it up.
The Perez family?
No, it was like, oh my God, I just remember Jimmy Smith being the main actor. I'm pretty sure it was like an LA based, so like a Chicano kind of based movie. And it was like that, like gangster, like that whole entire culture, like that West Coast Mexican culture. I'm gonna look it up because you just like unlocked that memory.
Yeah, and when you find it, send it to me.
Yes.
But right now I find a lack in the Hispanic version of that. We just had that Griselda special on Netflix, which was sick.
I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
People were like
Some
kind
people
of
were
coming
hating on it a
for
little
Sophia, but I had never seen her like that.
Nah, I thought she
ever.
ate. I thought she ate 100%.
Yeah, she blew me away because she's just always, aside from Modern Family, like we grew up seeing her being like, you know, like the little swimsuit model in, what was that Caliente, the music video show?
Yep.
So I don't think I would have.
You took me back with that one. Wow. Showing your age.
Right. But so I would have never like fathomed, like, she killed that role.
Yeah.
She did. I don't care what they say.
She bodied it. I don't care either. And, you know, that's the beautiful thing. And also the thing that kind of sucks about art and acting is it's subjective. You know, like what one person thinks is a masterpiece, someone is going to crap on. And that's okay.
Right.
But yeah, with this story that I'm coming up with, it's very close to my own experience. And I was like, man, I would love to see something that's Hispanic, that isn't like stereotypical Narcos, Scarface, because we've seen that.
Yeah.
But what's more of the reality of those
Exploring
stories?
like the real family unit. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And yes, there's going to be drugs and action and all that.
Yeah.
But at the core of my story is a family. And what happens when you split a family in half? What happens when only half the family can come to the States and the other half stays behind?
You should check out, it's not a Hispanic show. I watched it on Netflix. It's called Brother Son.
Oh my God.
And Michelle Yeoh is the main character in it, and it's really good.
Very, very good.
It's very well done, but it's done from like an Asian triad backstory. But the storyline is like phenomenal. It's really good.
But it's like that, like one son gets chosen to continue in the family line, and the other one gets sent to the States.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah,
that's
good.
right up
It's really
my
good.
alley.
Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy. But then the twist that I add is the one side in Hollywood, if you copyright and steal this.
You know what?
Hey, no, don't. Don't get that away. Don't get that away.
Let me not even
But
jinx
I would
myself.
like it to be, you know, I feel like Hialeah needs a moment.
Oh, it's got a gigantic moment.
Okay, because Hialeah is a character in itself.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like as much as Miami gets so much shine in everything, in movies and music videos and in TV shows and everything and songs and stuff like that, there's so many other amazing parts of Miami. And I feel like Hialeah is such a character in itself. I want you to pay homage to that.
It's in the title.
Perfect.
I'm not going to say much more, but it's in the title.
Perfect.
All
Okay.
right? No, I had to, man. Hialeah definitely had a humongous impact on me.
Yeah.
In case y'all don't know, it's the highest Spanish-speaking city in the United States.
Really?
I think it was 97% speak Spanish fluently. Not, you know, hola, ¿cómo estás? No,
Right.
They speak more Spanish than English.
If you are one of those Miami people that hates the fact that you go somewhere and they make you speak Spanish, do not accidentally get lost in Hialeah.
It will be hell, Aaliyah, for you. Because that's all they speak.
Right.
And like,
They gonna look at you like you wrong.
No,
like,
100%. Like, why are you here if you don't speak Spanish?
Right.
But nah, shout out to Hialeah, man. I love Hialeah. City Hialeah Parks and Recreation was my babysitter for the majority of my childhood. I went to Wild Park, Sparks Park, Bucky Dent Park,
Bucky Dent Park.
Slade.
It's so interesting because we had another guest, Mario, that basically said the same thing. He was like, my mom would drop me off in the morning at the park. I would just hang out with people, and then she would come back and pick me up when she finished work. And like knowing and trusting that I would be okay at the park.
Yeah, even though I saw some of the wildest stuff there, it was for the most part very safe. And I trusted the counselors were cool. My brother was a counselor for a while, at Wild and at Sparks, I believe. So yeah, man, City of Hialeah, I love the city. My brother's City of Hialeah cop to this day. His in-laws live in Hialeah. Some of my best friends still live in Hialeah. So yeah, man, Hialeah is definitely in my DNA forever. Ain't no denying that. And hopefully, Lord willing, I'll be able to tell a lot of Hialeah stories in the future.
Yes, from your mouth to God's ears. It's going to
Lord.
happen.
Yes, Lord.
You are going to receive that and put on for the city, for sure.
Yes. And one last thing, because you did mention past guests. Shout out to some of your past guests. My friends, Mimi and Gus. Both of them, I believe, are on the podcast.
Yo, they're doing big things. Shout out to Mimi and Laura.
Yes.
Also known as
AKA
the Chonga Girls.
The Chonga Girls.
That, just announced a few weeks back that they are basically working on a series based off of these characters that they created in high school. A play off of the song Fergalicious. They made a song called Chongalicious, and it took off in that era where going viral really meant something.
Right.
Like, because it didn't happen. And where do you go viral? Like, it was the YouTube era of going viral.
Yeah.
That was like true, authentic engagement from people.
No one was like going viral on MySpace.
Right. So, what is this? It
was 07.
Decades later.
07?
Almost?
Yeah.
Almost 2 decades later. They kept it going. They kept it pushing. They worked on these characters. They did stand-up shows with it and stuff like that. And
so I actually was on the web series.
You was.
Yo, and it's crazy because they've been working so hard, bro. And they've always been hard workers. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the things I admired about them the most. And when I moved to LA the first time, I was there for 3 months. It was like a summer. Was when they like revived the series, and I was like, yo. Come on, man. I'm trying to get up. So like it was supposed to just be like a special guest type thing, and we ended up shooting like 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And I was their manager, and man, it was so much fun. Like just improvising and shooting with them, and they're such brilliant actors, but then on top of that, they're really good friends. So they have this natural chemistry.
Yes.
That it was just a pleasure, man, and I'm super excited for them. And we'll see what happens.
We shall. They're very talented. I can't wait to see what they do with it, how they conceptualize it for a way that's, I don't want to say palatable to the masses, but that can give them longevity.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's, again, we're missing this content, man.
Yeah.
Just authentic Latino, Latinx content that's like coming from the source. That's not watered down. That's not corporate,
Yeah.
And if there's one thing they know about is this raw, authentic Hispanic experience, because we lived it.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see what you do next. Before we wrap up, we always do this little segment with our guests. So we're going to bring out something that might look familiar to you.
Before he does that,
yes,
we always ask also our guests a saying, a
like
phrase.
A phrase that maybe like you remember from either your parents or like the elders or something that is super Cuban. I
got one.
Okay,
I got one.
Boom.
Okay, so you want me to say that first?
Yes.
All right, so
I want you to look into this camera and tell the people.
All right, camera. Y'all see me? All right, so there's one thing that my parents used to say that I know is a Cuban thing. I don't know if other Hispanic cultures say it. Was the equivalent of saying mind your business or grown folks' business when you say, where are you going? ¿A dónde van? And they would always go back, look at me and say, pa viejo. And I would be like, what does that mean? Just tell me, where are you actually going? Vamos pa viejo, and you're not going yet. You are staying here, youngin'. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was something that used to always annoy me, and I kind of understand it now.
No. You know what I love before we get into this? Because we could stay here forever. I love, one, how expressive Cuban language, Cuban vernacular is.
For sure.
I love how Cubans say things that like I don't really know what they mean, but if I were to impersonate a Cuban person, there's certain words that I could just utilize and I could get away with it.
For
People would be
sure.
like,
a lot of them don't make sense. A lot of them don't make any sense.
I don't know where does que volar come from?
Honestly, that is one of the mysteries of the world. I don't know. Que vuelta. What spins?
Da la vuelta.
I don't know, but I mean, we can say that about all of them.
Yeah,
Que lo que? What does que lo que mean? Huh?
You know what else I love about Cubans? Like, you could do or say anything and guaranteed that they knew someone who did it or better in Cuba. You could have anything. Oh, esta cafetera. Mima hacía café bien rico en una cafetera más grande que la cafetera más grande que he visto.
Yes,
And,
yo, they do a segment like that, Mimi and Abuela, where they're like outdoing each other, you know?
Yo, and that should be so hilarious. Like anything. And
For
they're
sure.
like, in Cuba, it was better.
100%. 100%.
Actually, it originated in Cuba.
Yes. Yo, we're very braggadocious.
Yes.
We're very proud. You know what I'm saying? And it could be the smallest thing. We're going to brag about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just how we are.
So let's wrap up with this. So
Okay.
what do you know about this?
I mean, I know what everybody knows. We don't know what's in there until we open it. First and foremost, it could be pins, like
Right.
sewing pins, which,
Right.
you know, it could be cookies, but 99% of the time, ain't no cookies in
Ain't
there.
no cookies in
It's
there.
going to be the complete opposite.
Have you ever opened one and actually seen the cookies?
Yes.
Okay.
But only because my mom used to work at a nursing home.
And there
this
was
is-
a Christmas gift.
This is the number one nursing home gift.
Gift, yeah. My mom was a mail carrier, and so this was always a gift too. All right. So what do you think is in here today?
If I had to guess, I'm going to go ahead and guess it's not cookies. And it's some type of like cute little memento. Because I feel like you're considering it like that. It's probably going to be like a note that says thank you for coming to the podcast.
Well, open it.
That's my guess. All right. It's light, y'all. It might actually be cookies. Donuts. All right. I wasn't expecting that.
Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme. Are they fresh though?
Yes, they are fresh.
Hot light fresh. All right.
You know what this reminds me of? Remember in Crop when they used to come in the mornings to give us donuts?
Oh, yeah.
They were like 50 cents
Yep.
or something.
I used
And that
to
was our
devour
breakfast.
them things, like 8 of them. Oh yeah, heck yeah! I remember that like yesterday.
Yeah. Well,
Are these for me? Can I have these?
yeah,
Oh, bet.
absolutely.
I thought it was a prop, y'all.
No.
Dang, I'm on a diet right now, so these gonna last me like a week. I just cut them into pieces, you know.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, Rox. I appreciate it.
Of course. I'm really glad that we got to talk about things that like we never talked about before and
Thanks.
that you felt comfortable enough to share your story. And
Can I do one more little plug?
Absolutely.
All right. I'm trying to revamp my, coaching because I kind of went on a hiatus for a little bit. But if y'all are interested in some acting classes, I do all ages. Right now, my schedule is pretty open. I only have 2 students. But yeah, check us out. Abstract Acting. It's abstract with a K. So that's ABSTRAKT, acting.com. I got all the information on there. You can check me out on IG. Same thing, Abstract Acting. And make sure you check out my nephew, who's my very first student, Cutie Pie. All right. He is the prodigy of the Acay family / Hunter family. And he's actually on Nickelodeon right now on Tyler Perry's show. It's the #1 live show
What's
on
the name of the show?
Nickelodeon. It's called Tyler Perry's Young Dylan.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, make sure y'all tune in. Check him out. Wholesome family show. Kid is doing big things. He's got 3 or 4 projects on the horizon. So keep an eye out for him. Hero Hunter. It's my guy.
Aww,
That's it. I just wanted to plug him in.
amazing.
All right. So my name is Abe Acay, and I'm here with the lovely Rosalind. And growing up Spanglish. Sorry, my bad. Spanglish was the first thing that popped into my head because that's, it's the core of the name. But not growing up Spanglish, man. All right.
Stream it on all platforms.
On every single platform, y'all.
Follow, like, share,
Yes.
leave reviews.
Yes. Subscribe.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Peace, y'all. Thank you.
Yo soy boricua.